everyone. I hope you've been doing well. Let's just get right into this. You've probably noticed that I have not made a video in a while, and this is not it's not like an apology, I'm sorry that I haven't made videos kind of thing, because I have done that in the past. This is more of a, just listen to this crazy story that I have for you kind of video. So basically, the first thing is, I do realize that I have requests from some people. I still plan on making those. It's just hard to find the time lately, so I'll get around to that eventually. So the first thing I have to tell you is, might have been my last video, I was attempting to put on my impress nails, as I do very often, and unfortunately there were only 23 in the pack instead of 24, and one of which is the one that's missing is the only pinky nails that fit. So I contacted the company. I've contacted them before, and it took kind of a long time to hear back, which surprised me, but that took a while, and now things are settled, and they actually sent me 2 different packs of replacements instead of just one, which I thought was nice. So I'll probably make a video with that. Maybe today, probably tomorrow though. Depends on how much time I have left when this video is finished, because I have a very small window of opportunity to film this. So that's why I'm doing it now. So that has been handled, and I will attempt to make another video showing how to use those, because I know a lot of people, girls mostly, and some guys do like when I do that. So that's that. The second thing that's happened since I last spoke to you guys is we had a lot of snow where I live, an abnormally large amount of snow for where I live, and for that reason I missed a lot of work, and it just seemed like it went on forever, and you'd think like I would have more time to make videos, but in the meantime there was all kinds of other things going on, which I won't get into, but yeah, so it was really snowy, there was like dangerous road conditions everywhere, so that happened. In the course of that, today is Saturday, so not last Saturday, but the Saturday before, my mom and sister came to visit me, and they took myself and my boyfriend, and we went to lunch at one of my favorite places to eat. I've been going there for years. I won't say what it's called, but there have several different locations of this restaurant where I live, and I've gone to all of them over the years. So that would have been the day after Valentine's Day, and since we didn't go there on Valentine's Day, we thought it would be great to go there. So we took my mom and my sister, and I won't say what we ordered, but there is a specific type of appetizer, which I don't get often, and my mom thought it would be nice to order it, so we ordered this appetizer, and it was made at the table, but not like, you can't exactly see everything that goes in or anything like that. So we were served our appetizer, and our food had not yet come. And I bit into this appetizer. We'd eaten about, I don't know, maybe like half of it. And I ate a bite and bit down into something very, very hard. And I almost screamed. I think I might have screamed, actually, but not very loudly, in pain, because what I had bitten into was a rock. Yes, a rock. Which, this particular food, I do not know how on earth there would be a rock. And you might think to yourself, well, maybe you put it in there yourself, and no, absolutely not. I can, certainly afford to go eat at this restaurant. It's not a very expensive place to eat, and I wouldn't be so dumb as to try to sabotage myself by biting into a rock. So, bit into a rock, and our food hadn't come yet, so I spit it out. I was, like, shocked because I couldn't believe it was a rock. And everyone was saying, oh, maybe it's a seed, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. No, it was for 100% a rock. And it was a rock that was like, it wasn't round or sharp. It was like an oblong shaped weird rock, and it was almost kind of shiny, like, the only way I can describe it is maybe like a rock in a fish tank, or if you've ever seen those trash cans sometimes on public streets or in downtown areas, there's those trash cans that are like built into the ground that are covered with stones. They kind of reminded me of that. So immediately my first thought was, well, we've obviously got to tell someone. I can't believe there's a rock in here. This is crazy. They're going to think I'm so weird. They're not going to believe me. So my mom calls over a waitress. She wasn't our main waitress, but I think by this time I was kind of in shock because it hurt so much. I thought that I had broken my tooth or something. So I was really just kind of trying to figure out the damage at that point. So I think they were at that moment started to bring us our food, and the woman who brought it, my mom told her what had happened, and the girl takes the rock out of my hand, which was kind of gross because it had been in my mouth, and looks at it and says, oh, it's a seed. I said, no, this is definitely a rock. Then our waitress comes back, our actual waitress, and she looks at it too, and she goes and gets the manager. The manager comes, he tells us his name. I think he even said he was the owner, and, if I needed to go to the dentist or anything like that, to let him know. And, he was nice about it, and he didn't charge us for this particular appetizer, but I knew, like, my tooth, this is not right. And it has even now, it's still really sensitive, like, almost like if you've ever bleached your teeth and you do it too much and you know how sensitive they get, it's like that. And it's one of my big, important teeth in the back, so it might be cracked. But anyway, so that was that. And then they took the rock, so I didn't keep it. But fortunately, I had the thought to take pictures with my sister's camera. Oh, the other thing is, because of all the snow, when I had been at work on a day when it had started to snow a lot and we all had to leave work because the roads were getting bad, I somehow dropped my phone in our break room, and so I didn't have my phone for like over a week. So at this point, I had no phone. So we took the pictures with my sister's camera on her phone. So anyway, so then we go to leave, and I guess, I don't know if I was just disoriented or just a little shaken up by the whole thing, because my tooth really hurt at that point. And we go to pay, and my sister gives me a peppermint. She says, "Here, have a peppermint." And some restaurants, they have those little peppermints. They're almost like a half-size peppermint. But this was like a full-size peppermint. And so I had a peppermint. We walk out the door. I had planned to come back later when they weren't so busy and talk with the manager or something. Which, looking back, was probably, I should have probably just made him do it then. So I popped the peppermint in my mouth. We walked out the door, and then literally had only maybe walked 3 feet, and my sister said something, which for some reason I laughed, and I went, like, took a deep breath in, and the peppermint, which I had just put in my mouth, got lodged into my throat or my airway, whatever, and I literally could not breathe. I was choking. So at that point, I'm like kind of panicking because we're right in front of the restaurant. There's all these people in there. I don't really want all these people seeing this happen. So we walk away a little more, and I still can't breathe. So I immediately my first reaction is to start like throwing up or trying to throw up. So that's what I'm trying to do. And that's not working. I'm just making terrible noises. And my sister, she's training to be a nurse, so she attempts to give me the Heimlich, and that is not working at all. And I'm just really panicked because I know that where we are, we're not very close to the hospital. If I needed to go to the hospital, it would take a long time even if we called an ambulance, it would take a long time to get there. Like, I really thought, it's so scary, I really thought like something bad was going to happen. And then I started to get angry because I thought if something really awful happens to me and it was because of a peppermint, that's just so embarrassing and dumb, and I just felt really stupid. So I still can't breathe. Well, I guess in the process of me trying to throw up and my sister squeezing me and doing all that, it shifted enough in my throat that I could breathe, but it was still really painful, and it was lodged still in such a way that it wouldn't come out, but it wasn't getting smaller because I guess I didn't have a lot of saliva to help dissolve it. So it's basically just sitting in my throat, and with every breath I'm taking, I can feel that it's moving around in there, and it felt like if I tried anymore to try to get it out, it would just cover up my airway again, and I wouldn't be able to breathe, and that was really scary. So we thought about going to like an urgent care, but then we realized they'd probably just send us to the emergency room. So I sat in the car. My boyfriend used his phone to like navigate us to the hospital, and my mom drove, and my sister was in the front, and I just closed my eyes, and my sister told me to keep my mouth closed and try to breathe through my nose, because that way at least it would stay kind of warm inside in my throat. Because you'd think, like a peppermint, maybe it'll dissolve, and it just was not getting any smaller. It was so painful, and I felt like I was still choking, but I could at least breathe, so I knew like I wasn't gonna die. So we drove to the hospital, and we get there, and I go in, and at this point I'm not crying. I just have like tears coming out from the pain of it being in my throat and from choking and everything. And I can't. It's still like pretty hard to breathe. The humor in it is that they asked me what happened, and my sister and my boyfriend kind of explained that I need to be admitted, and they're having me sign all these forms and giving me these pamphlets and things that I have no clue what they are. I'm just like signing it, like, get me back there, fix this, this is awful. And then they asked my boyfriend, they said, what is her date of birth? And this is not my date of birth, but let's pretend that it was December 1st, let's just say. So if my birthday was December 1st, he said, November, and then in my voice, I couldn't hardly talk, I was like, December, which is not my birthday, but, so whatever my month was, I said, December. So then they said, okay, her birthday's December, well, what's the day? And he said, 5th, 10, and I said, first, which is also not my birthday, but, so that was kind of funny. So then they said, well, are you related to the patient? How are you related? Are you her family? And he said, no, I'm her boyfriend. And this was, the day after Valentine's Day, and they said, well, you're her boyfriend, you should really learn her birthday. And I just thought it was funny. He knows my birthday, it just takes him, he has to think about it for a minute, and I know his birthday because it's on a very memorable day that's significant to lots of people around the country, so it's easy to remember, but mine is a little more tricky, so I wasn't mad, I just thought it was a little bit funny. So then they started asking my sister's questions. They gave up on him, I guess, and asked my sister. So they gave me a wristband, and I'm just, the whole time, people are looking at me. I still can't breathe. I can breathe, but it's really hard to breathe, and it's just not getting smaller. I'm starting to freak out again. So I just said, I need to go. I need to go to the bathroom. Just let me go to the bathroom. They said, okay. So they slap a wristband on me. And the bathroom was like the back of the hospital. It felt like it was so far from the waiting room, from the emergency area. So we get in the bathroom, and it's me and my sister, and I'm start trying to throw up again, because then I thought, well, we're at the hospital, so at least if something happens, I'm already at the hospital. And then at some point, it didn't come out, but I could feel the peppermint move again, it slid down more. So I could tell now I was out of the woods, I wasn't going to choke on it and basically suffocate. So we go back out, and I tell them at the front desk, they're calling for me already. It'd only been 2 or 3 minutes, and they were ready for me, I guess, because if you're choking, or you tell them that you have a heart thing, apparently that's one of the fastest ways to get seen at a hospital, is if you're having heart problems, but I didn't say that. I was obviously just choking. So then I came back and I said, I'm really sorry, but I think, I'm good. I don't think I need to be seen anymore. I think it's moved. My throat just really hurts. And they said, then we talked, and I explained to them what had happened at the restaurant and all that. And we all just kind of laughed about it. And then I got to go, and I didn't get charged or anything because I didn't get seen. So that was really scary. And, I know, not to be so somber and serious, but there was a girl, a 5-year-old girl, I remember reading about this last year, or I don't know how long ago it happened. It could have been several years, but a little girl choked and died from basically doing the same thing I did. But in her case, she had a lot of people around trying to help her, and it just didn't work out. So I felt really, really happy that it worked out the way it did, and that my family was there to help me, because I didn't have my phone, at that point. So, I wouldn't have been out by myself anywhere, but it just made me think, this is a perfect example of why in this day and age, if you have a phone, it's a great thing to have, because I don't know what I would have done if I was by myself. And when I started choking, we were in the parking lot, so really the only option would have been to start running into cars or something that were parked to try and get it out, because I didn't have a chair or anything. And for the first little bit, I really did not see how I was going to be able to breathe. again, so I don't know if it was me, the combination of me trying to throw up and my sister giving me the Heimlich, or just my sister, but I was glad that she was there. So that happened, and then for the next several days, my throat was incredibly sore. It felt like, and even after when we left the hospital, it still felt like the peppermint was in there. So for about an hour, I wasn't sure. So I was drinking like warm drinks, like tea and coffee and stuff. And it was sore for about a week and a half, I'd say. Like imagine feeling like there's something stuck in your throat for a week and a half. That's what it felt like. But even though it was just, my sister says it's possible to bruise or just strain your throat, and I guess that's what I did. And it also messed up my stomach a little bit. They said it was in my esophagus, the peppermint, so I don't know what that means, but anyway, so I recovered from that, and in the meantime, I called the next day, I guess, after this has all happened. I called the restaurant back at this point, so now my throat is hurting, and also my tooth. The peppermint wasn't the restaurant's fault, that was totally my fault, but the rock was another thing. So by now my tooth is sore. It feels like it's been bruised, so I'm trying to figure out if it's possible to bruise your tooth, like under your tooth or around your tooth, because it just was really sensitive to cold and heat, but it didn't look cracked. And I talked to some dentists, and they say that it's possible if you have a trauma to your tooth, like what I did, that you can crack it, but you won't know for a long time, and sometimes x-rays won't even show, and some people will have it for a year before they know, but that it was also very possible it was just bruised, the nerve endings, I guess, under your tooth. You could bruise it when you have trauma like that. So anyway, I called the restaurant. I knew that particular manager was working. Let's call him John. Let's say his name is John. So I called the restaurant, and it's on Sunday, or it might have been Monday, but I think it was Sunday. And I asked, I said I was here on Saturday, and I would like to speak to the manager. And they said, well, we have two managers. We have one who comes at this time, one at that time. When were you here? So I told them. They said, oh, that would be John, we'll say. That's John. I said, okay, is John working? Can I speak to John? Yes, may I ask who's calling? So, let's say my name is Sally, which it's not. I said, hi, well, you can tell him my name is Sally, and I'm the lady who was here on Saturday, and he comped or paid for or took off the bill the blank. I won't tell you what appetizer it was, but whatever it was, that's what I said. So she said, okay. So she said, hold on a minute. She doesn't put me on hold or anything. They have a wireless phone. So she walks through the restaurant. You can hear that there's people there. And she goes up to him. She says, hey, John, there's a woman on the phone here who says she was here yesterday and you comped her blank, and she needs to talk to you. Well, then you don't hear anything. It's like totally silent. So she goes, John, do you hear me? John, can you hear me? John, and then I get put on hold for like 2 or 3 minutes. And then she comes back and says, well, John's really busy right now. Can I take a message? And I said, okay. So I give her my information. I told her what happened, and I said, here's my numbers. He needs to contact me, and I think I'm going to need to go to the dentist. I need to get in touch with him. So then it's like 2 days go by, and I don't hear from him. So I had to contact a, what do you call it? Well, I went back. So on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I went back to the restaurant, hoping to in person see John. So I asked whoever was working, I told them the story, and I said I need to speak to John or file some paperwork or whatever. So they get their other manager, and he had no clue that any of this has happened. So he's shocked and calls immediately with me. We sit down, and he calls their insurance company. So I sit with this person, I don't really remember his name, and we speak to their insurance person, who will call Stephanie. We'll say her name's Stephanie. And Stephanie talks to me. I tell her the story. She asks me if I'm going to go to the dentist, and I'll say yes, I think I need to go to the dentist because, my tooth is sore and all this, but that I'm going to hold off for like a week or two because that's what the dentist I've talked to have told me. It could just be bruised, and if it is cracked, I'm going to need some time anyway. So we agree. The guy who helped me was really helpful, and I said, I'll wait to file it when I know when I'm going to the dentist. So she gives me the information. Then a few days later, I decided, yep, I definitely need to go. So, I still haven't heard from John at this point. So I call back Stephanie and tell her I'm going to be going to the dentist, and she files the claim for me. And now I have a claim number, and I have a new insurance person who now we'll call him Tom. So Tom works for another insurance company, and Tom is handling this case. So he's supposed to have gotten in touch with me, so I don't hear from him. In the meantime, I'm trying to make appointments with dentists, and all the ones in my area don't take my particular insurance, and they all want me to go set up, I guess it's just standard to set up an initial. You have to go and have an exam, and then go again and have an x-ray, and go again and do all these things. So I've decided I'm just going to go to my dentist where my parents live, because it's not very far away. It's like an hour and a half. So I finally contact this person who is supposed to have contacted me. It turns out he didn't send a letter. He sent a letter, but I didn't get it until actually just the other day. So I don't know why people send letters even anymore for things like that. It seems like they could just call you or email you and then send you a letter. So he says, "Oh, well, I tried to call you, but your number didn't work." I said, "That's funny, because my bills are paid and it all works for everyone else." So, talked to him. I gave him a statement, how to do all these things, and I guess they're investigating it, which was frustrating, because it's not fun to feel like, when you're answering questions, that people are trying to suggest that somehow you're being dishonest, because that's stupid, and I like to go to that restaurant, so why would I do that? But anyway, so now they're having an investigation, and it turns out the manager's saying something different from what I said, and I have the pictures and blah, blah, blah. It's this big, long thing. So I'm going to the dentist this week. I might not get paid back. So that's been another thing. And in the meantime, I've just been trying to work and be focused on that and make up some of the money that I lost from when I wasn't able to go to work from the snow. Okay, so that happened. That was two Saturdays ago. Two Saturdays ago. Last Saturday, I had to go to work on Saturday, and I got off late in the afternoon, went home, went to dinner, lost my phone again, left it downtown, and then fortunately remembered where it was and was able to go back and get it. And then we went and saw some friends. Then the next day, we were just taking it easy, so this is on Sunday, hanging out at the house, and some friends came by, and I went to one of my coworkers, her son had a birthday, so we went by their house. About 8 o'clock, I was cooking dinner, and here comes the cat. Hold on. Come on. Come on. Kaya. Okay, well, she'll jump up here in a second. There she is. Oh, good girl. So, anyway, so Sunday, 8 o'clock, I'm cooking dinner. I was making Brussels sprouts and grilled chicken that I had marinated earlier. And I'm cooking the Brussels sprouts, and all of a sudden, I have just a terrible pain in my stomach, like side-splitting pain. So I come into the room, and I change my clothes and get comfortable. I, put my pajamas on. I laid down for a minute, and I thought, well, did I had drank some kind of beer, but I only had one bottle of it at that point. So I can't talk. It wasn't like I was drunk or anything, because I only had one bottle and some water. And so I go back and I tell my boyfriend, hey, I can't cook this. I feel really bad. Can you finish cooking the food? I feel like maybe I'm going to be sick or whatever. So I come back in the room, and then this is too much information. You don't even need to know this. So if you get grossed out, don't listen any further, because I'm going to talk about throwing up now. So I come back in the room. I immediately start throwing up, and it's just liquid. It's not food. So I started thinking, oh, it's food poisoning. I've been food poisoned, but there's no food coming out. And I didn't remember eating anything in the whole day. I think I had a frozen Smart Ones for lunch and some juice at this birthday party we went to, and maybe a granola bar or something. So that happened, and then I go to lay down, and then it went this way for the rest of the night. So every 20 minutes until about, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning, I had to get up and throw up. And there wasn't any food coming out. So then I started to think, well, maybe it's a stomach thing. So I didn't go to work. And then for 2 more days after, I wasn't throwing up anymore, but I couldn't really eat food, because every time I would eat, I would feel sick. Even if it was just potatoes or broth or whatever, I would feel sick. So that was this week. And someone I work with had the same thing. And then yesterday, there was 5 more people that I worked with have the same thing. And so we realized it must have been some kind of gross stomach thing.